when they can. As we know, all of you are super busy people. And I think that just having you here all together to talk about collaborating it makes me very, very happy to know that I'm going to hear from all of you. So I'm going to start with the reading, then we'll do a check-in. Carrie is recording because there were some people who wrote saying, please, please, please record. I want to be part of this conversation, but I'm not able to. So I'm going to start with something from Spilling the Light from Teresa Soto. And they write, we hold hope close. In this community, we hold hope close. We don't always know what comes next, but that cannot dissuade us. We don't always know just what to do, but that will not mean that we are lost in the wilderness. We rely on the certainty beneath, the foundation of our values and ethics. We are the people who return to love like a North Star and to the truth that we are greater together than we are alone. Our hope does not live in some glimmer of an indistinct future. Rather, we know the way to the world of which we dream, and by covenant and the movement forward of one right action and the next, we know that one day we will arrive at home. So I light our chalice for those words of all of us coming together, knowing that each step that we take, it will lead us somewhere together. And the collective wisdom on this call, I am looking forward to hearing all about. So I'd like us to start by just sharing a little bit about who we are and maybe your role and where you're calling from. So I'm Linnea Nelson. I'm serving as president of LREDA this year. I'm calling from Orlando, which is my new home as of a couple of years ago. And I will call on someone just to keep it all kind of moving along. Derby, oh, you're chewing, but you're right next to me. Are you good to go, or should I call on someone else? Okay, Derby.
My name's Derby Davidson, he, him, his pronouns. I'm a director of religious education in the Redwood City Fellowship, Redwood City, California. And I'm also serving as the president for the PCD LREDA. And I will call on Emmy.
Hi, I'm Emmy Schlobaum. I serve as the Director of Family Ministries of the Boise Unitarian University here in Boise, Idaho, at least until January 5th, which will be my last day here. And yeah, I know there's lots to talk about. Let's see, I also serve as the Pacific Northwest chapter president. And oh, I use she, her, hers pronouns. And Carrie is sitting right underneath me, so I'll call her on her.
Did you say me, Emmy? Because I think you did. You're a little bit breaky-uppy. I'm Carrie Kopnick. I serve as the LREDA administrator, and I'm joining you from just south of Seattle, Washington. She, her pronouns. Really, really happy to see you all. What a joy. Let's hear from Catherine.
My name is Catherine Childs. My pronouns are they and them. I serve as the Director of Religious Exploration at the Unitarian Church of Montreal in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I am also your LREDA Fall Conference Planning Chair, and I am looking forward to seeing lots of you live in 3D in November in Baltimore. So who's next? How about Leah?
Thanks, Leah Purcell. I'm the Director of Religious Education and Family Ministry at our UU congregation in Albany, New York. And I will call on Hannah.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I am the Director of Religious Education at West Hills UU Fellowship in Portland, Oregon, as of like 5 minutes ago. So yeah, I'm really excited to be here. She, her pronouns are great. I will call on Jessica.
Hi everyone, I'm Jessica York. Director of Congregational Life Staff, calling in from my home office in Birmingham, Alabama. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm very happy to be with you today. I will call on Mia.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mia Noren. I'm the Director of Religious Education at First Unitarian Church of Albuquerque, New Mexico. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm also serving as the Chair-elect of the Mountain Desert District, LREDA. And with me is Alana Rodriguez, who is my RE Assistant and Youth Programs Coordinator, who also uses she, her, hers pronouns. And I will call on Eric.
Hey everybody, can you hear me? I'm on my phone. Hello?
Yep, we can.
Yes,
We can hear you.
We're
Thank
good.
you.
Oh, okay, great. I'm out in the neighborhood. Eric Bliss here, Youth and Emerging Adult Specialist for the Pacific Western Region. My pronouns are he, him, his, and I look forward to being with you today. I am not in front of my computer screen, so if someone who hasn't been called on can go next, that'd be lovely.
Judith, you're right next to him on my screen. Do you want to jump in?
Sure. Hi, it's Judith Stein Farrell. I'm the University Unitarian Universalist Congregation, Fellowship in Orlando. And I'm the Director of Religious Education here, dropping in. I'm going to carry you with me while I go to a meeting in a little while. And I cannot, because I'm on the phone, I'm for some reason not seeing the whole room. So Linnea, if you would move me on to the next person, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. How about Kathy Sagal?
Hi, I'm Kathy Sagal. I'm in Providence, Rhode Island at First Unitarian Church, where I am the Director of Religious Education, she, her, hers. And as, I don't know who's gone because I came late from a staff meeting.
Okay, I'll call on Gail.
Hi, I'm Gail Forsyth Vale. My pronouns she, her, hers. I'm calling in from Georgetown, Massachusetts. I am the interim director of Lifespan Faith Engagement. And yeah, that's it. And I'm really happy to be here. Thanks. Let's see, Lillian.
Hello, my name is Lillian Drab-Braddock. I am the Director of Adult Ministries at the First Unitarian Church here in Dallas, Texas. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm very new to LREDA, and so I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me. Oh,
Lauren?
Yeah, go ahead, Lauren.
I am Lauren Wyeth, she, her pronouns. I'm at First Universalist Church of Minneapolis and grateful for the opportunity to gather. I don't know who's next.
I think Nicole, but we're not seeing a picture of you, Nicole. Are you there?
I'm here. My name's Nikki or Nicole, and I am the interim DLRE at Westside UU in Fort Worth, Texas. And I started here. I saw you, Lillian. Whoop, whoop. I started here on August 1st, and so I'm still learning a lot, but I'm super excited to be have this opportunity to visit with you all and learn and share.
Great. Anyone we missed? We got everybody. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for joining together today. We have been committed as the LREDA board to have conversations throughout the year on various topics. So if you are thinking of a topic you'd like to have a conversation on, feel free to send it our way. This one arose, I guess, maybe over a month ago when we were just kind of thinking about how important it is for LREDA, as we make decisions, to be as transparent as possible, but to be as informed as possible. And then what that led to is realizing how many great ideas are out there that are probably just kind of bubbling. And if we can have people talking about them together, that as a full LREDA, we can be maybe making some connections that will make a difference in this world. Gail and I were both lucky enough to be at a FOSS collaborative event last week, where we did a lot of collaboration. And so now I'm even more invigorated to think about how you get a few people in the room together and the great ideas that come from that. Gail, would you like to say a couple of words about that experience before we jump into new ideas?
Sure. It was a group of folks from all kinds of different places in our movement, and basically we came together around what are the places where you're working on some innovative idea, or where you have a big question about the future of faith formation. So it was called Forging the Future of Faith Formation. There was time for exploring ideas alone and in pairs and through panels and so on. It was a lovely experience in creative interchange. And I came away feeling really excited about what had happened. So it was definitely a good thing. The conversations around the edges were really good too, Linnea.
Yeah, I agree.
Thanks.
Thank you, Gail, for letting me put you on the spot like that. But I think what arose from me was how those both conversations around the edges, as well as the ones that we were partnered or small group or large group, was how one person's idea led to another person's aha or connection. And so in the form of the kind of, I'm going to just share with you the form of collaboration that I truly love, is when an idea arises, and instead of that person kind of fully forming that idea and then looking for other people to join them in that idea, to maybe name something that maybe many of us want to work on, and then grow that idea together, so that we're starting with the idea, or maybe just a kernel of an idea, and then just seeing where it goes. We may solve all the world's problems today, but more likely we will just have a really rich discussion is really my hope. I don't have any specific goal here other than to get us to start talking. So some of the questions that I asked in my newsletter, and we put it on social media, I'll just rewrite them now. Would you like to collaborate in some way? And I'm going to assume that since you're here, that answer was yes for you. But when you ask your colleagues, I'd be curious if you had any conversations. Were there others who were interested? And how might we work together more closely? We do have technology, which is a wonderful tool to really support our collective UU mission. And how could our religious educations programs collaborate in the support of this collective faith development? Those are just starting off questions. You can answer another question or start in a different place. I just wanted to kind of get the juices going. So is there someone who would like to share kind of what called you to this conversation about collaboration, or maybe a conversation you've had recently about collaboration and how we might do that? And let's start with a little bit about the how, and then we'll go into specifically what.
I'll share because I'm new, and I was really excited to see that the group was convening. I had been working at this church in this role for over 11 years and hadn't ever had the opportunity to be part of LREDA. And now I have the opportunity, I know, right? Because the congregation and the staff really wants to make sure that we have professional development. And to me, part of that is the ability to collaborate, to get together with people, to not be doing our work in these silos or in these vacuums by ourselves. And just being a part of a group in North Texas, and we've got Fort Worth representing today, has been really amazing for me. But I'd love to get to know and hear from people all over the country and the continent. We've got someone from Canada, and that's just really exciting to me. It makes me feel less isolated in the work and more connected to the whole. So I just can't wait to hear what you all have to say.
Thank you. That was beautifully said.
So I can say for me, my personal faith background is that I grew up Anglican. Americans will know that as Episcopal. But that is a church that relies on a lectionary. So no matter what Anglican church you go to on a Sunday, they're all reading the same Bible readings. And there is a consistency across what happens. And it's always felt to me like our movement as Unitarian Universalists is poorer for not having that kind of shared experience of what our faith is. When we're all off in our own congregations trying to muddle through the thing together, or together with our close colleagues, but not with our wider group of colleagues, we aren't developing what Unitarian Universalism could be as a wider faith. And we're not giving our congregations the benefit of a perspective which is denominational and which is based in what our whole faith movement can be. And we're limiting ourselves to what our individual congregation can be. So my hope in all of these conversations in what we do as a professional organization is to help our individual congregations have this wider denominational perspective on what it is to be a Unitarian Universalist.
Thank you.
I'd say, oh, go ahead, Mia.
I'll be brief. Anytime I've had the opportunity to get together with you, it's such a fruitful experience. And so I'm here because it's just another opportunity to grow together and brainstorm together. And I find that to be an exciting aspect of my job, one of the best aspects. Why we want to collaborate? Because it helps make what I do here richer.
Thank you. We have a couple new folks who've joined us, so I put it in the chat what we're talking about. So welcome. Please feel free to jump in, Anne and Jenny, if you have some thoughts about it. Anybody else want to speak to why we're here, collaborating, why it's so important? Leah.
Thank you. I think it's important because there are trends happening that it's nice to keep on top of and that we all might have thoughts on. So for example, I was at RE Week by the Sea in New Jersey this summer, and we were talking about the future of faith formation and sort of recasting it as, you know, not the death of RE, but the transformation of RE. And it was helpful to get that kind of perspective. So I think gaining new perspective on new trends is really helpful.
Thank you.
What I would add is, so one of your questions originally, Linnea, was why we're here. And part of what made me want to be part of this conversation is being in the LREDA Facebook group and seeing and trying to navigate the files and find anything in the files and feeling like that certainly cannot be the best way for us to share resources. So all of what everyone said, I really resonate with. And that particularly specific thing to me is like, people have been so generous in sharing their wisdom and the resources that they've created or gathered with one another, but it seems like there's such a wealth of resources and wisdom out there, and we're so inefficient at sharing it with one another that it seems like when you look at that multiplied to our whole denomination, we're like wasting a lot of time in reinventing the wheel instead of having just a simple way to lean into what others are willing to share. And I wonder what more we could do if we were more effective at that.
In fact, Lauren, would you take a moment and type in kind of in a brief way, that idea. And if each of you could type in if there was something you brought with you, like, ooh, like, wouldn't it be great if we had a way to share resources? So we're kind of moving into the why, from the why to the what sort of things do you want to collaborate around? So shared resources will be one that Lauren will put in. Just go ahead and type what's kind of on your mind if you have something specific you brought with you. Thank you, and feel free to keep adding as they occur to you. We're very lucky. Thank you, Jessica and Gail. And I know, Eric, you're on UUA staff. Is anybody else on UUA staff? I feel like LREDA is really collaborating with UUA in so many ways in sharing our ideas, and we keep ending up in different conversations together. That I hope that this is fruitful for you too, to see kind of what people would like to be talking about. So I'm still taking a moment to kind of read through them. There's a lot of fabulous ideas here of things that we could work on. So my next question, so we've got these kind of gathered here, but my next question is, do you, I'm looking at these, and the piece that I'm drawing is that these are resources for religious educators, for us to share with one another, and discussions for us to share with one another. I'm going to just switch gears for a moment, not leaving these behind, but just letting them simmer a little bit. Are there ways that you would like your own religious education program to collaborate with other religious education programs? And I'll share one way that I was involved in that, and Anne was too. Actually, we were the two who started it, come to think of it, and Linda Weaver. We had a shared religious education teacher training in Northern Virginia. And so we just had this idea that, wouldn't it be great if we could all get together, and then DREs could run workshops, but also we all had people in our congregations that had great wisdom or ideas. Why not have them also leading groups and having these workshops? We just did like a day of workshops, and that way people from one congregation could talk to somebody in another congregation. We know that those conversations on the margins, as you described them, Gail, were really fruitful in having people talk to one another. So that was one way. Do you want to add anything to that, Anne? You were certainly the co-founder of that whole idea.
No, but it is nice to point out that it spawned some other similar projects. Our Maryland neighbors to the north started doing such things. And so sometimes the collaboration can just be getting an idea from somebody else, I think. The one thing I was going to mention was my sad and failed effort to open adult ed classes to everybody in the future. And I opened a website, and people could put all their adult classes so that if you wanted to go to the workshop with,
this person or that person at the next church, it would be possible. I still think it's a good idea. And the other thing that I found to be really helpful, and I really want to figure out a way to do more, is collaborating with youth groups going on trips, because that's just a lot of resources. And also it's always good for the kids to meet other kids and spend time together.
Thank you. I'm seeing some other things coming up. Would anybody who's thinking of things that you've already done in collaboration, either it could be with other religious educators, it could be programs working together, anything along these lines that you've already done that you're willing to share a description of with the group?
I mean, I don't know if this is collaboration so much as sort of a one-to-one sharing. But last year at our fall conference, we had the opportunity to put together some videos. And I shared in a video that was widely available about how the structure of my program interacts with our theme-based ministry worship program. And so I'm wondering what the options are especially for new DREs, to see how different programs operate and what the structures of different programs are. But also those of us who are looking maybe to shake up how we organize our programs if things don't feel like they're working as well as they once did, maybe, to find out how other programs are structured, and how sort of other Sunday mornings are structured, so that what are some easy ways that we can share those systems with each other.
Word sharing keeps coming up. Leah.
I did a thing once with a cluster, I suppose, of New England congregation. So they were all really close together, and they invited us, and it was religious educators and their RE councils and committees. So it was neat for that level of congregational leaders to meet with each other, and like Catherine was saying, just talk about best practices and get different viewpoints. And I think especially for the volunteers, it made them feel more connected to what they're doing in their home congregations.
I'm realizing we are recording, but everyone won't see our chat list. So if you have put something in the chat that you'd like to lift up here, that would be awesome. And then we also have a written recording of it.
I'd like to lift up what a few of us have mentioned about being in isolated congregations and what can be done as far as collaboration for us. We don't have the ability to travel to other congregations. There just aren't any nearby. Any ideas?
One of the things that LREDA board has been trying to figure out how we might do is to have some kind of online regular cluster sort of meeting. And we don't want to take away from the clusters that are already there, but we want to have, and maybe it would be town halls on a specific topic. That's something that I saw earlier on. Pick topics and just put them out there with someone kind of facilitating it and just having the people who are interested in that topic. It could also be, and I'll just ask you, would there be interest in some kind of online monthly cluster group where it's a group of people who are in isolated places and could meet regularly, like those who live a little closer? I'm seeing some nods on that. Okay. Yes. Okay. I'm seeing dancing. Okay. That's good.
There's also two kinds of isolation. There's geographic isolation, and my brain just went dead. Hold on a second. Somebody was just saying they did this for 11 years but didn't even know about LREDA. Lillian, right? Yeah, so there's that isolation too. Living in Boise, Idaho, I am 2 hours from the closest congregation, and it has 30 people on a good Sunday. So, and 2 kids. So there's no, I mean, I love them and I go down there and preach for them and they come up here and say hi, but there's no real collaboration. But there's also the isolation of the congregation itself doesn't know what LREDA is. And they just sort of, this is isolating work to begin with, even if you've got an RE, I mean, you've got another UU fellowship, like, or congregation just 2 blocks down the road. If you don't know that these things exist, and I'm not saying that LREDA can fix this, but I'm just saying we have to keep in mind that there's at least 2 kinds of isolation. There's sort of the lack of information isolation and way too much distance between 2 congregations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've thought some and talked some about how we might reach people who don't know about us, or maybe new folks who are coming in and their minister forgot to tell them that there is this thing called LREDA, and like, what you don't know, you don't know. So how do you find that out? And thinking about some ways that we might get that information out there. Whether it's
as the chair-elect for my district, that I'm in the Mountain Desert District, and while we have a few really dedicated members of our district who are involved in things together, there's a whole lot of smaller churches in our district that I think have no clue or just no resources to be able to get involved. So using the membership that we already have and utilizing and trying to make sure that everybody who actually has joined gets information. And
oh, you got muted there. I don't know what happened.
Before even going on to, those of us who don't know anything about us, because I see that. I see we have members who, they're ghost members.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I just want to jump in and clarify too. I was the one that had been working 11 years but hadn't been able to be a member, and those in my cluster did a great job of letting me know about LREDA. I just didn't have a line item in the budget for professional development for a really long time. But part of my thinking and why I really push for this is because I feel like the collaboration, it benefits you in your role at your congregation. Like, whatever time or dues that you have to put into being part of an organization, you are going to reap those rewards back in getting those ideas and working with people. And someone said, not recreating the wheel. So this new person out there, I think y'all are doing a great job of getting the word out. And the more we can tell people what the benefit is to them, like, the stronger the message it's going to be.
Thank you.
I also wonder what the opportunities for collaboration are with our ministerial colleagues, with our musician colleagues, and with people who work in administration roles as ministry as well. And what are the ways that we can raise the profile of religious education as ministry in our congregations and have our religious education professionals recognized as people who are doing ministry and who are deserving of those kind of resources.
Is there anyone who'd be willing to share a situation, example of how you collaborated within your own congregation with different religious professionals? I know you've done it. I hope somebody out there has done it, but nothing's coming to mind, but I'll give you another minute. Is there, just so we can have kind of an example of something that might work, and it's a little concerning that we're not thinking of anything right now, so please jump in if you have something.
Are you thinking like multi-generational services and stuff where, where the minister and I are co-leading things, co-leading the service? The minister and I have also done adult ed adult ed class on dismantling white supremacy. Yeah, those kind of things.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about?
Those kind of things.
Yeah,
I think just to
anytime we have a multi-gen service, the music, the minister, the religious educator, and the music are meeting together beforehand and figuring it all out and making sure it flows.
In addition to worship, the other place where that's happened in my experiences around some social action and justice projects where different family groupings and individuals cared about something and did something about it. And so that required more collaboration than the usual.
Thank you. So I think there's obviously many, many ways that we can collaborate with one another. And I think having some goals, which thank you for all the things that you put in chat, we will definitely be looking at those to see which things might make a town hall meeting in and of itself, so that people who want to come together to talk about how we might do something can get that started. I would like to just kind of take the first idea that was presented, Lauren, the one that you kind of started us out with, like how might we share resources better? And I think just kind of as a pilot discussion to say, let's just talk about that. Let's see what ideas, what energy we have around it. We probably won't come up with that, and at the end of this call, we are going to be doing X, Y, and Z. But let's hear about what you think about sharing resources, whether it's concerns about why it's hard to get resources. I think you laid a little bit of that out. Some ideas you've had about how we might collaborate better around resources. And let's just start that conversation. What are you thinking about? Or what are your hopes and dreams, if you want to start there?
I would hope that we would have a space where we can share intellectual property with each other in a way that respects our copyright and does not hand over our copyright to Facebook.
What sorts of things are you most interested in sharing or getting from a shared site?
I guess the things that I see people asking for time and time again are stories with a particular theme. And so what I would like is that when people do all that work of saying, these are great stories on this particular theme, that gets recorded and it seems to me like it would be a fairly easy thing to put on a website where there could be themes with links to a variety of stories that were shared as suggestions. And then the other thing is people who are looking for curricula for a particular age group or age range or particular focus, that there could be links to where to find things. And I think two of the difficulties that I think would be important to address in creating that online kind of bank would be, one would be respecting the copyright and finding a way to link to things that had different levels of shareability. And then the second issue would be, I think it would probably be unwieldy to have it be that anybody could upload anything anywhere at any time. There'd need to be somebody who was sort of the filter through which, through things that decided what got posted where and actually made sure that what was getting posted wasn't duplicating or was actually on topic.
I know the worship web, we've probably all used that to look for stories within Tapestry of Faith. If it's new to you, on the UUA website, there's something called Worship Web, and not only does it have words for worship and openings and chalice lightings and readings, it also has a search for stories, which within Tapestry of Faith, which I've found incredibly useful. And I'm sensing that you're talking about something like that, but focus primarily on RE. Am I reading you right there, Lauren? And
yeah, primarily on RE, but also people do ask for things, so something that's not just Tapestry of Faith, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Jessica, would you have any insight as to the kind of process that was used to maybe even just do the themes of Tapestry of Faith and the stories, and like how big a project or small a project that was to do something like that?
Oh, wow. That was that was quite a large project that started even at the UUA. I mean, it was a multi-year project. And one reason why it was because there were a number of consultations that happened with various stakeholders before coming to some agreement as to what would be the themes of the various programs, and even how Tapestry would be organized, and the values that we wanted to see represented within Tapestry of Faith. After those multiple years, and Gil might have a better knowledge of how many years that process was, even though that did predate both of our times in the office at the UUA. A project grid was laid out, and we actually had a project manager at the UUA who managed the larger project. But a timeline was also set out, a multi-year timeline was set out. The various projects, the curricula were placed within the timeline. If you've used Tapestry, then you're aware that they're broken down according to ages. So there are programs there for children and for youth and for adults. And the UUA was able to hire someone who would focus on each one of those particular areas, and hire authors for the various curricula. Some of the original plans for the curricula changed and morphed over time. So I think that was important for us to realize that because it was a multi-year project, what we started out with in the very beginning wasn't necessarily what we ended up with by the time we started working on some of the projects that, were in year 3 or year 4. The topics or the themes assigned for them maybe weren't as relevant as they were before. But Tapestry of Faith is, I think it's a great resource, of course, because I worked on it. But it's not the be all and the end all either, right? There are lots of resources out there that individuals are creating or individuals are finding that still could be very valuable to share. I mean, there's no way that Tapestry of Faith could address all the possible themes that we were going to come up with. And of course, there's lots of revision that's happening also within Tapestry of Faith as we are living into a culture change at the UUA and becoming more aware of stories and activities too, that center whiteness, and trying to make changes to those stories to make them more authentic as to who the story is actually about, and to bring in voices from the margins into some of our stories. Is that helpful?
Yeah, thank you. And I am even more appreciative of thinking about how hard it is to pull something like this together, but I don't want that to say, oh, well, then we could never come up with anything like this because it's so hard and it takes so many people. So let's continue on this vein with other ways we might share information that might be a little easier to do than just going to Facebook. I think that's where we started. Just trying to search for what somebody said 2 years ago about Facebook that you have this vague recollection of. I know I've done that search many times. How else might we be able to share information maybe beyond a big database, since that can be out there as a great idea if we could figure out how to do it. Are there other ways in the meantime that we could get started on sharing our resources a little more? And maybe a place on the LREDA website that at least directs people to Tapestry of Faith and some of those things that maybe if you're relatively new to your work as a religious educator. I know when I started, it was, thank goodness for my cluster. So those of you who haven't had an active cluster, I feel for you, because, oh my gosh, my cluster was awesome in like telling me giving me direction, I guess. So is part of what you're asking, Lauren, or you lifted this up, is the hope that LREDA might be able to create something, or be a place where people can go. And Gail, you have your hand up too. Go ahead.
Yeah, what I'm thinking is it also matters whether the things that we're talking about live somewhere else or whether they don't. So in other words, if it's a registration form and it doesn't live somewhere else online, it's a lot easier to pull together a list of links, right? Than it is.
List.
Yeah, a curated list of links, or recombining things. I think some of the soul work stuff, the soul matter stuff, recombines things that are already existing, but uses links and maybe some annotation about how to pull it together. If it's not already online, then it becomes a whole other level of somebody's got to publish it in some way online, or in order for it to be shareable, it seems to me, because I'm not sure that we have the resources to do a whole other publishing enterprise, right? Other than Tapestry, or or people who are privately publishing curriculum. But that's just one of the things that I'm thinking about, is those curated lists that are categorized and so on, but that are links essentially.
Mm-hmm.
I was imagining something similar to that, like what you're describing, that Soul Matters does. And I think that just even encouraging people to put things in Google Docs or a similar kind of format where the link can be shared. It's not necessarily a website, but it's shared and can be linked. So yeah, I don't know if it's the LREDA website or if it's just a separate website. I think one of the things, like Jessica, listening to you talk about Tapestry of Faith and developing all those resources and figuring out how to make them accessible online, like my imagining would be that we do something that would be more less official and more colleagues sharing with colleagues. So there's a lower bar in terms of quality. So that then is on me as the DRE to look at the resources and decide which I want to use in my program. But there are more materials to consider.
So very much a crowdsourcing sort of entity.
One idea that I've had through this conversation is if there was like a LREDA team Google Drive that, Carrie could be the owner of, but not necessarily all the responsibility of populating it would fall to one person, that you could upload things. And I think there was a comment in the chat about this, like a best practice is, here are sample permission slips. Here are sample covenants. Here are sample, here's what my contract says even, because I agree. I think the HR side of this is super siloed still. And like I'm doing a startup retreat with the UUA, which is great. I'm really excited about it. And 2 months ago, it would have been awesome to get like you're a new DRE. Here's a packet of things that might be helpful. And I've been around long enough in other capacities to know that these things are available to me, and I joined all the Facebook groups and all the things. But if I hadn't had that knowledge already, I would be really lost.
Thank you.
So I think it was Kathy who held up for us in the chat that there are sections of the LREDA website which were intended to be used in this way. And for whatever reason, I have theories. You might also have theories about why that hasn't happened. So that infrastructure does already exist. So just for people to know that.
I think that maybe, okay, so I'm an RE coordinator, but I was an RE volunteer for a number of years beforehand. And I think that knowing that LREDA has this thing, I know we're in a LREDA chat group right now, but not knowing about these resources, I learned everything backwards coming in. And I was actually encouraged to join LREDA, but I wasn't really told how. I wasn't told a lot of things. We had an interim minister, we had an admin who didn't really know the process necessarily. So again, it goes to, you don't know what you don't know. So if you know you have to join LREDA, okay, I did that. I've started to connect with my cluster. They were wonderful. But again, having the time as a halftime to look on the site and find all these things is really hard. Anyway.
I'm just going to put in a pitch that it is 21st Century Fund grant season. And if somebody wanted to, you know, pitch an idea to put this together, there's money. I'm just going to put the link in the chat here. But I, you know, as the holder of the little LREDA piece, LREDA doesn't produce stuff. We don't produce curriculum. We don't do those, you know, we are support for professional religious educators. So to have on the LREDA website permission slip forms and things doesn't make a lot of sense, but to have, you know, a wiki or a Google Drive or something like that, that somebody sets up and then hopefully we continue to maintain over time, or maybe that's my job to maintain, that
would be awesome.
Carrie, do you actually have that kind of time?
No. Yes, I could figure that out.
Yeah, I do think having someone think through setting it up and thinking about how it might look, and to have the technical either knowledge or willingness to research it to figure out what that might look like would be a great 21st century grant application.
Can I add in a couple ideas here?
Absolutely.
I want to, because I'm in the car, I'm not always seeing everybody's face. I'm not sure who spoke up about the packet of information that would have been great when they started.
Yeah.
And I think I agree with that, and having that somewhere is an awesome thing, but I think we forget how important this one-on-one contact is. And having someone actually send me that packet would have been, you know, is better than sometimes telling me, oh, here, go here. You know, and I have that experience with my volunteers in RE all the time, is I can give them links galore, and they really need me to hold their hand a little bit just to get them started. Right? So if there's a way, and that's something that the chapters need to do, and we work really, you know, we try and don't do it, don't always succeed at, too. And then the other collaborative idea I thought I kind of brainstormed in the same vein is, I am in an isolated situation. I'm, as most of you know, I'm in a lay-led congregation. So I don't have other resources in my church other than laity. Or you, Linnea, who lives not far from me. But really, I don't have lots of
Judith, you might have to turn off your video for a moment. We're having trouble hearing you. If you could turn off your video, maybe that would help.
Yep. Is this better? Maybe not. Okay.
Oh, that's a little better. That's a little better. Oh, actually, you had turned off your video. What am I saying?
I'll say it fast and to the room for a few minutes. But, is there such a thing as a drop-in room?
A drop-in room? Oh, like maybe, hopefully she'll come back and complete her thought. A drop-in room, maybe like just a LREDA drop-in room Tuesdays at whatever. Stop in and talk to your colleagues, and maybe you have a question, and maybe you have just a like, I had a really rough day. Anybody want to share? Oh, there she is, Judith. We got drop-in room, but not what for. We're guessing.
Yeah, drop-in room, Zoom room, where you can kind of drop in and say, hey, I need help right now. Is somebody around? Kind of
like a help desk.
In an office. Like, yeah, more like the break room in an office. Hey! Just kind of a brainstorming space. So
yeah.
That is available when you're available. Go ahead.
And I think right now Facebook is kind of being that for many people.
Yeah.
Great. So I'm seeing we're heading towards the top of the hour. What I want to do, I cannot wait to sit and read the chat box because there are so many rich ideas there. I will do my best to bring some of them forward as town meetings in the future so that we can maybe tackle one thing at a time. We have a start of an idea here around sharing of resources. Please be in touch with if you decide to pursue that in some way and want to work on it, want to do a grant. If a couple people talk to me, I can always connect you, or if you want to just reach out to the other people that you know in this group or see in this group, I would be happy to connect people. I want to thank you all for sharing, and I think the energy that comes with talking about a topic and kind of moving it forward, for me, I kind of live for that. I think of religious educators of having collaboration as our middle name. We just can't do this work without collaborating. I will take a look at what you've written. If you didn't get to say something that you wanted to, and you just think of something later, feel free to just send me an email. I would be very happy to respond. What I'd love to be able to do is to take some of these ideas, and I don't know what format I would use yet, whether it came up in one of the letters in our newsletter or something. If there's anything that you put in the chat that you'd rather I not either say or you'd rather not be attributed, please just send me a little note so I don't do that. But once I look through it, I know there's some real gems in there that I'd like to lift up, and I don't want to do it if it's not in your if it's not your preference. Okay. Again, thank you. I wish you the best in all of your work. And now you have some new faces, those of you who are new. And I look forward to talking with you again and whatever our next town meeting is. We're looking at the second Tuesday of December because November is very busy with Fall Con. I hope you're all coming. And the second Tuesday in December at the same time, we'll start just running them at this time for a while. And we'll probably end up picking a topic right from all the collaborative ideas you gave us today. Any last thoughts anybody would like to share before we sign off? Okay, thank you all, and see you next time, and see you in November, I hope, in Baltimore.
Tuesday, December 10th. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.